I lurked in the shadows by the Nomo's office, eyeing every passerby with cold suspicion. One of them had killed Juan. Someone in this town was going about their lives like they hadn't just destroyed one of the finest men I knew. The look of shock and raw grief on Amelia's face would stay with me for a long time. Death for a vamp was so rare, she hadn't been prepared to bury her husband. Anger burned in my gut. The need for retribution was high, but I had to bide my time. Luckily, patience is high within my skill set. I can wait a decade to kill this guy if I need to. He'll finally relax thinking he's gotten away with murder, and then Damocles' sword will fall. One way or another, justice is coming for him. My phone rang. Gunnar. Yes? I answered, a shade impatiently. Connor, a friend of mine is here to take the cache of drugs away. I need you and your men to facilitate and keep it as quiet as we can. We don't want the dealers learning we've moved it yet. Until then, we have leverage. I grimaced at being summoned like a servant, but Gunnar was right. The best way to protect this town, and Bunny, was to get the shit out of Dodge. Fine. Who's your man? His name is Henderson. Gunnar confirmed. And Connor, he's MIB. I couldn't hold back the swear words that poured out. The last thing this town needed was the Magical Investigation Bureau's eyes on us. Poor luck is your last chance. This town is full of people that have made bad decisions and burned bridges. It's one of the reasons I love this place. And of course, settling here was a small act of defiance to my father. But the MIB didn't care about our community. All they'd see is a town of red flags. I trust him, Gunnar insisted. He said he'll get it destroyed, and I believe it. Just keep everyone calm while I'm out. Out? Out where? Beyond the barrier. Gunnar's tone was grim. Oh, fuck. Are you taking Bunny with you? I asked tightly. Yeah, she's with me. I'll take care of her, son. You have my word on that. You take care of Henderson, and I'll see her home safe. For a heartbeat, I wondered if that was a threat. If I didn't take care of Henderson, would Bunny stay outside of the barrier? No, I dismissed the idea. Subtle threats weren't Gunnar's style. Besides, he'd never harm Bunny. She'd lived with him for a couple of months while she was homeless. Sigrid and Gunnar doted on her. Gunnar hung up, and I forced my jaw to unclench. I had an MIB agent to deal with. Margrave, I barked once I put the phone away. We've got MIB inbound. Get out of sight. Lee Margrave grimaced. Who'll guard your back? Call Cody, I suggested. Get out of here. Yes, boss. Margrave wasn't happy about his marching orders, but the last thing I needed right now was for my new second to get arrested. I'd have to make it a priority to get his assault charges smoothed over. I couldn't afford for his hijinks to affect his work. Leaving it this long had hopefully taught him a valuable lesson in self-control. He was still young. In fact, there was no time like the present. I texted Hester, speak to my father and get the charges against Margrave dropped. The reply was almost instant. As you wish. That was one less thing to worry about. Cody joined me in the shadows a few moments later. MIB are inbound, I warned him. Yes, sir. Cody vibrated with readiness, and a part of me relaxed a little. I trusted Cody. He was as loyal as a hound. As bright as one, too, but I didn't need him to be Einstein. We weren't kept waiting long until the faint sound of a helicopter was heard. We looked up and saw a light flare on the top of the helicopter. A gemstone, imbued by the witches to allow it to pass through our barrier. Made my mouth go dry. Did they get one made specifically for this trip, or could the MIB stroll through our barrier any time they liked? The helicopter was a Sikorsky CH-53E Super Stallion, designed to carry a shit ton of soldiers and cargo. The beast sat down, and a man in a black suit opened the door and strolled out once the blades had stopped moving. The man had a black backpack slung over his shoulder, which was incongruous to the tailored suit. Mackenzie? He called out to me, tone respectful. I stepped forward. Henderson? That's me. He showed me an ID and held a hand out for a handshake. I grasped it and gave it a firm shake with my gloved fingers, but I held my strength in check. It wouldn't do to crush the man's fingers. He was a friend of Gunnar's, after all. Henderson was just shy of 6 feet tall. His hair was sprinkled with premature grays, but his face was unlined. I put him in his early 30s. His own handshake had been firm. He had strength in that wiry frame. He was also some sort of magic user, or supernat working for the MIB. The world had gone insane. I'll get my men and the drugs and get out of your hair, he said mildly. I appreciate that. What are you planning on doing with the drugs? I'll see them destroyed, Henderson promised, looking grim. Personally. I studied him. See that you do, I said finally. This shit can't be allowed to exist. To destroy it totally, you're going to need to find the source. I'm on it, Henderson confirmed, keeping his voice low. That told me that he didn't trust his men. Not fully. Good. Gunnar had given both Stan and I full sets of keys, so that when he hit the emergency button, we'd always be able to gain entrance. I used my keys to unlock the front door, and then I led the way to the lockup. Careful, I said to Henderson. It's warded. So I can see, he muttered, swearing under his breath. What kind of madman uses a death ward in this day and age? He sounded aghast. A mad woman in this case, I said dryly. I wasn't going to criticize Liv Fox. She wasn't a woman to fuck with, figuratively or literally. I'd rather rip my cock off than go near her honeypot. Henderson opened his backpack and pulled out some salt. He poured a long line around the cell, as far as he could reach, and then he started chanting. I watched as the white salt leached to red, like it had been soaked in blood. Henderson leaned against the door for a moment, before gesturing for me to open it. I obliged, but didn't venture across Liv's wards. Henderson might have broken them, or he might have just made them worse. I wasn't versed enough in necromancer magic to know either way, but I'd seen Mahoon's body, so I wasn't risking it. The MIB agent pulled a knife, and then, with a side glance at me, he sliced his palm. Blood welled and dropped onto the now red salt. The scent of it filled my nose, and the rush of need was dizzying. This thing with Bunny was affecting me more than I realized. It was making me out like a day-old vamp. I kept my hunger hidden and off my face. Then Henderson stepped across the cell door, shoulders sagging a little in relief as he didn't instantly drop dead. He leaned down, grasped one of the bags, and chucked it out to one of his men, who passed it to the next man, and so on, in a drug-passing daisy chain. In a matter of minutes, the helicopter was loaded down with men and drugs. I caught Henderson's arm before he could hop into the helicopter. Destroy it, I said firmly, with a threat of compulsion behind it. I will, he promised. Damn right he would. My compulsion would see to it. One was dead, and I'd be damned if I bury another of my men because of this shit. What I'd done was completely illegal, of course, but sometimes what was right and what was easy didn't always align. I closed the chopper door behind Henderson and stood back as the blades started to whir. I watched as they lifted off, keeping an eye on them as they went aerial, popping back through the barrier and away. Can we leave the Nomo's office now? Cody asked hopefully. No, I replied. We don't want to tip the dealers off. We need to keep a presence here so they think the drugs are still here. Why? So we can lure them here. Like a trap? He brightened. Exactly like that, I agreed. He grinned. I like traps. So did I, as long as I wasn't caught in them. Get Margrave to join you here, I instructed. I'm heading off. Cody didn't ask where I was going, which is good, because admitting I was going to sit on Bunny's porch until she got back safely from the barrier was downright embarrassing. I motored off in my truck and parked outside of her new house. I stayed in the truck for the first hour or so, but then I got restless. I started to pace around her property instead. It was hours later before I heard the rumble of an engine. I'd long since stopped pacing and instead was sat on her stoop, waiting like a dejected puppy. As long as she was okay, I really didn't care what it looked like. The Nomo's vehicle swung into view, pulling to a stop in front of her house. Bunny climbed out, looking significantly worse for wear. Her clothes were torn, there were leaves in her hair, and mud on her face. I'd never seen a more beautiful sight. She was okay. Thank God she was okay. I took a breath, and this one felt so much easier than the one a few seconds before. Hey, she said with a faint smile. You okay? Her eyes ran over me, checking me for any visible sign of injury. I'm fine, I reassured her. You're not. Her eyes were wild. She wasn't far from having a full freak-out. I've been better, she admitted. I didn't ask what she'd seen. She'd tell me in her own time, if she wanted to. I couldn't help but feel one wrong move from me would send her careening away. She was still on high alert, jacked up on adrenaline and panic. Can I come in? I asked carefully. I threw her a light smile. I'll check under your bed for monsters, I offered as lightly as I could. Sold, she agreed instantly. But her tone wasn't as easy as she'd intended. Fear was still dogging her steps. Fluffy got out of the car, carrying a charcoal-colored lynx kitten in his mouth. Bunny didn't react to the lynx's presence, so I guess she'd found herself another stray to look after. I looked the kitten over. It didn't look dangerous, but this was Portlock, so it was probably a serial killer. Bunny unlocked the front door, flicking on every light as she went, including the lamps. Then she activated the metal shutters and locked the house up tight. My gut lurched. She was so scared. There could only be one explanation. She'd seen the beast beyond the barrier. I was sure of it. Fluffy came in and dumped the small kitten on the sofa. The kitten curled up, looking innocent and sweet. Do you have Liv's number? Bunny asked me abruptly. I blinked at the sudden subject change, but pulled out my phone, pulled out Liv's number and passed it to her. She hit ring. Not now, Mackenzie, Liv snarled as she answered the phone. It's not Mackenzie, it's Bunny. Bunny kept her tone even, but her eyes were exasperated. I'm busy, Bunny, Liv said, but her voice had a little less bite. My eyebrows rose. Did Liv actually like Bunny? I wasn't sure Liv even knew how to have friends. Are you at the barrier? Guna did something temporary to try and patch the rip, but you need to do something permanent. Now. Bunny's voice wavered as she spoke. Yep, she definitely saw the monster. Fuck. Did you see it? Liv whispered. Yes, Bunny admitted. It can't be let in, Liv. We're repairing it. There was a shrill scream heard over the phone. What was that? Bunny demanded, her knuckles turning white on my phone. I grimaced. I wanted to shield Bunny from the reality of life here as much as I could. The only problem was she didn't want to be shielded. She'd mentioned her parents only sparingly, but they'd wrapped her in so much cotton wool it had been stifling. I wouldn't make the same mistake, no matter how much I wanted to. A sacrifice, Liv said wearily. The barrier doesn't run on wishes and dreams. Bunny went completely white. A goat. Liv finally relented. Just a goat. I have to go. She hung up. Bunny lowered the phone and blew out a long breath. Tension was present all over her body, and I wanted to offer to give her a massage to ease it, but we weren't there yet. What other comfort could I offer her? Thanks, she said, as she handed the phone back to me. She looked washed out and lost. How could I help her? Cup of tea. She always felt better for a cup of tea. I went into her small kitchen and flicked on the full kettle. Evidently, Bunny wasn't ready to be alone as she followed me into the kitchen, sourcing some food for her pets. She fed the lynx some burger meat whilst I heated her a cup of blood in the microwave. When the kitten was full, it curled up and started to sleep, purring lightly. Now she didn't have the kitten to feed. She was at a loss. I passed her the mug of warm blood and the cup of tea I'd made to her tastes. I stifled a smile as she pinched her nose and chugged the blood like it was distasteful. She was unlike any vampire I'd ever met. Bunny sat on the sofa, looking distant. She pulled a thick blanket onto her lap and finally sipped at the cup of tea I'd made her. Instantly, her shoulders relaxed. She leaned back into the brand new sofa I'd bought for her. Her new home had come unfurnished, so I bought her a few essentials, like a dining room set, a sofa, and a bed. She wouldn't accept charity, so I bribed the realtor to say it came semi-furnished. As she sipped her tea, the whole story gradually came tumbling out of her. I kept myself still with effort, keeping my face bland and unaffected, as she told me about being chased by the Nantinak and the beast beyond. So many people had strayed beyond the barrier without issue. Of course, Bunny would be the one to encounter the monster. The monster that had killed Kivuk. I shoved the anger down with sheer force of will. My anger had no place here in Bunny's home. I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want her to feel the full force of it. It's evil, she finished. Frankly, I don't even care if Liv has to kill a whole herd of goats to keep it out. If it gets into town, it's going to kill us all. It won't get into town, I reassured her. She nodded, looking unconvinced. She set her empty mug down. I need to wash up, she mumbled. I noted that she didn't look to the front door or ask me to leave. She hadn't shaken her demons yet. If you want, I'll stay until you're ready for bed, I offered, keeping my tone offhand. Her relief was obvious. Oh, that'd be great, she said, standing to go to the bathroom. When she shut the door behind her, I turned to the animals. Hey, Brute, I teased Fluffy. The dog got up off the sofa and gave me an enthusiastic lick. I gave his fur a ruffle in response, careful to keep my touch light. You okay, boy? He let out a soft whine. No. I ran my hands over him, and he whimpered when I touched his ribs. I've got some potions in my truck. 1 minute, bud. I slipped out of the house and rifled through the supply of potions I had on hand. After the fire inhalation incident, I'd gotten a few potions on hand specifically for Fluffy. I read the labels and grabbed the one for bruising, and another one for pain relief. I took them inside and poured out the prescribed dose into a plate. Lick these up, I said to the dog, who looked at me with 2 intelligent eyes. As instructed, his long tongue licked them up. That clinched it for me. Potions smell vile. No ordinary animal would take them so willingly. Fluffy glowed lightly as the potions took hold of him, and then he gave a happy wag, climbing into my lap to nibble at my face lightly. I laughed. You feeling better, eh? He barked once. Well, I'm glad. We need to keep you in tip-top shape if you're keeping an eye on her. He gave me a distinct nod. Whatever he was on team keep Bunny safe. She'd saved him back in London. He was determined to return the favor. Let's take a look at this lynx. I knelt down by the sofa and gave the snoozing creature a little prod. It opened sleepy yellow eyes and looked out at me, short tail stubs swishing in irritation at being awoken. Hello, little one, I murmured to the kitten. Where'd you come from? It looked at me, then firmly turned around and collapsed back down. It was ignoring me. Charming. I've always been more of a dog person. Keep an eye on it, I said in an aside to Fluffy. He tapped his tail twice and laid down, his eyes fixed on the lynx. The sound of the shower stopped, and I moved back down to the corridor to wait for her to be done. I listened to her move around, hearing the sound of her hairdryer going. It was reassuring after the hours of my panicked pacing. She was home, safe and sound. She had some new worries, but she was fine. When Bunny finally opened the door, she was dressed in pale pink PJs with white bunnies on them. She looked adorable, but her eyes were exhausted. She swayed where she stood. You're dead on your feet, I noted. Come on, let's get you to bed, Sleeping Beauty. I gently took her hand and pulled her over to her bed. I carefully tucked the bedsheets in around her. My grandma, what big teeth you have, she mumbled with a weak smile. Wrong story, I teased. I don't believe in Prince Charming, she yawned. And if he does exist, he should know that kissing unconscious girls is a no-no. She looked so beautiful. Big blue eyes, long ash blonde hair pouring over her pillow. What about sleepy ones? I joked ruefully. That's fine, she said instantly, looking a lot more alert. I leaned down slowly. I gazed at those soft, kissable lips with real longing, but I kissed her lightly on the forehead. I left her room before I could do anything that either of us might regret. Tease, she shouted after me, making me laugh. I couldn't think when I'd last laughed as much as I did in her presence. Something about her slid into my psyche and eased all the ragged pieces of me. She was so joyful, so determined to learn. She helped remind me what life had used to be like, before the centuries had jaded me. I gave Fluffy a pat. Go and keep her company, I suggested. She'll sleep easier with you there. Fluffy jumped up, grabbed the kitten by the scruff of its neck, and wandered off to her bedroom. I let myself out, locked up, and posted the key back through the door. I walked to my truck and climbed into the cab. A yawn cracked my face, but I stayed, watching over her, just to be sure no monsters came knocking. I'd promised, after all.